What if I told you the most powerful force that could change your life is something you already have, but refuse to use? Not talent, not intelligence, not even motivation. It's something far less glamorous. Something so simple, most people overlook it, and because they overlook it, they never become what they're capable of becoming. You want results. You want to be respected, successful, in control of your life. But every time you start something, you stop halfway. Every time it gets hard, you look for a shortcut. You get excited for a week, maybe two, and then the flame dies. Sound familiar? We live in a world obsessed with quick fixes and overnight success. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. The people you admire, the disciplined, the resilient, the ones who seem untouchable, aren't lucky. They're consistent. Consistency is boring. It's waking up and doing the thing when it's no longer fun. It's doing the reps when no one's watching. It's staying with the process even when the results are invisible. And that's exactly why it works. Because no one else wants to do it. So if you've been wondering why your goals still feel far away, if you're frustrated with why life keeps slipping through your fingers, it's not because you're not good enough. It's because you haven't been consistent enough. That ends today. Because in the next few minutes, we're going to talk about what it really takes to become someone who finishes what they start. Someone who commands respect, first from themselves, then from the world. Not with noise, not with hype, but with relentless, disciplined consistency. Let's begin. Every single thing you do, every action you take on a daily basis is casting a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Think about that. You don't wake up one day as a leader, an athlete, a writer, or a disciplined person. You become those things in tiny, seemingly invisible moments, day after day after day. But here's the catch. Most people don't want to hear that. It's easier to believe that success comes from a big moment, a breakthrough, a spark of genius, a viral post, a single performance. We're drawn to the highlight reel, the trophy, the applause. But what really builds you, what actually defines who you are, it's what you do consistently, not what you do occasionally. Anyone can show up once. Anyone can have a great day. Anyone can talk a good game. But it's who shows up every day when it's raining, when they're tired, when there's no reward, when no one's clapping, that becomes something different. That becomes someone powerful. Identity isn't built through declarations. It's built through action. You don't get to say you're disciplined. You don't get to declare you're committed. You prove it in the things you do when it's inconvenient, when it hurts, when it would be easier to quit. That's where identity is born. That's where trust in yourself is built. Let me ask you something. Do you trust yourself? Because that's what this comes down to. When you set a goal, when you tell yourself you're going to do something, how often do you follow through? Do you say you'll work out, then skip the gym 3 days later? Do you promise yourself a fresh start on Monday, only to be back to old habits by Thursday? Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're not just skipping a workout or a task. You're teaching yourself that your words mean nothing. You're training your brain to doubt you, and that doubt spreads. It starts small. It's just one day, I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow. But it doesn't stay small. It chips away at your confidence, your belief, your ability to stay locked in when it counts. And on the flip side, every time you do what you said you would do, especially when you don't feel like it, you stack evidence. You start to see yourself differently. You realize, I'm the kind of person who doesn't quit. I'm the kind of person who follows through. That becomes your new standard, and it gets harder and harder to accept anything less. You want to change your life? Don't start with some massive transformation. Start with your identity. Start by deciding the kind of person you want to become, and then ask yourself, what does that person do every single day? If you want to be an athlete, you train when you don't feel like it. If you want to be a leader, you show up with integrity and focus every day, not just when it's easy. If you want to be successful in anything, your career, your relationships, your mindset, you commit to the process long after the emotion is gone. It's not about perfection. You're gonna slip. You're gonna have days where you miss the mark. But consistency isn't about never falling. It's about refusing to stay down. It's about showing up again and again and again without the drama, without the excuses. And over time, that quiet, daily discipline becomes your edge. The people around you might not notice it right away, but you will. You'll feel it in your confidence, in your energy, in your clarity. You'll feel it in the way you speak, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you stop tolerating your own BS. You won't need to tell people you're different. They'll feel it. But this only happens when you stop chasing intensity and start committing to consistency. It's not about the sprint, it's about the marathon. Anyone can go hard for a week. Very few people have the discipline to go steady for a year. And that's exactly why it works. Because when everyone else is burning out, falling off, or starting over, you're still there, doing the work. Quietly, relentlessly, without apology. That's how your identity changes. That's how you become someone people look to, someone people respect. But most importantly, that's how you start to respect yourself. Because when you build consistency, you don't just build results. You build a relationship with yourself that is unshakable. You stop questioning whether you have what it takes, because you've already proven it, day after day, task after task, rep after rep. So if you're waiting for some massive breakthrough to change who you are, stop waiting. That breakthrough doesn't come from a book or a podcast or a 30-day challenge. It comes from the next small thing you do with full commitment, and then the one after that, and the one after that. That's what builds identity, not talk, not potential, not talent, consistency. And that's 100% under your control. There's something you need to hear, something that might sting at first, but will set you free if you let it sink in. Your emotions are lying to you. Not always, but often enough that if you let them run the show, they will sabotage everything you're trying to build. One day you'll feel unstoppable. The next day you'll feel like giving up. You'll go from fired up to completely flat. One minute you'll be excited about your goals, and the next you'll want to crawl back into bed and pretend they don't exist. And if you only act when you feel good, if you only train, write, lead, create, or push yourself when the emotion is right, you will lose. Every time. This is where most people get stuck. They believe the myth that motivation is the key. They think if they could just stay motivated, everything else would fall into place. They wait for inspiration like it's some kind of magic spark. But the truth, motivation is temporary. It fades, it's a wave, and it crashes. Emotion is fleeting by nature. You can't build anything lasting on top of something that unstable. You know what doesn't fade? Discipline. The ability to do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. The ability to lock in and execute, no matter the circumstances. You don't need to feel like doing it. You just need to do it. This isn't about being robotic. It's about maturity, growth, mental toughness. Life doesn't care how you feel. Success doesn't pause to check your mood. It rewards the people who show up consistently through joy, through pain, through fear, through doubt. Discipline is what you fall back on when your emotions try to talk you out of greatness. Have you ever noticed how loud the excuses get when you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed? You've worked hard. You deserve a break. You're not in the right headspace. Tomorrow's a better time to start. Sounds reasonable, right? But all of that is emotional noise, your comfort zone disguising itself as logic. And if you listen to it too often, you start living a life of almost self and excuses. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline asks, what's the mission? Let's be real. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your habits. And your habits are built through discipline, not inspiration. No one becomes great by doing the right thing once in a while. They become great by doing it constantly, even when the fire's gone, even when it's raining, even when it hurts. This is where emotional thinkers fail. They stop when it's hard. They retreat when it's uncomfortable. They operate based on how they feel instead of what they know must be done. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But if you can become the kind of person who doesn't wait to feel ready, who doesn't need to be in the perfect mindset or have the stars align, then you become unstoppable. Because nothing controls you anymore. Not fear, not fatigue, not distraction. You rise above it. You execute. There's something incredibly powerful about doing the thing you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. That's how you start building real confidence. Not the surface level kind that comes from hyper external praise, the deep kind, the kind you earn by keeping promises to yourself, the kind that doesn't shake when life hits you in the face. And here's the wild part. When you act despite how you feel, your emotions eventually catch up. Discipline creates momentum, and momentum generates its own kind of motivation. You finish the workout, you finish the project, you get the win, and suddenly the energy is back, but you didn't wait for it. You created it. That's what most people never learn. They're too busy waiting for the right mood, the right energy, the right headspace. And while they're waiting, someone else is grinding. Tired, anxious, scared, unsure, but grinding anyway. And that person pulls ahead. You think discipline is harsh? You think it's cold or rigid? No, discipline is freedom. It gives you control. It keeps you moving forward when everything else tells you to stop. It separates the wishers from the doers, the dabblers from the professionals, the talkers from the builders. The best performers in the world don't always love what they do every day, but they respect the mission more than they obey their feelings. That's the difference. You want results? Build discipline. You want consistency? Build discipline. You want to look in the mirror and respect who you see? Build discipline. There is no shortcut. There is no hack that replaces showing up over and over and doing the work, even when your emotions beg you not to. That's what creates growth. That's what forges resilience. That's what makes you powerful. Not just when things go right, but especially when everything feels wrong. So the next time your emotions try to write your schedule, push back. Tell them, you don't run this, and then do the thing anyway. That's how you win. The world is not fair. Some people are born with natural talent. Some are born into wealth. Some get handed opportunities most people can only dream about. That's reality. But there's one thing that levels the playing field. One thing that doesn't care where you come from, what you look like, or how much experience you have. It's not luck. It's not connections. It's consistency. Consistency is the great equalizer. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't even have to be the best, at least not right away. But if you show up every single day, if you put in the work long after others have gotten bored or distracted or discouraged, you become dangerous because consistency compounds. It builds. Quietly, steadily, invisibly at first, and then suddenly everything changes. People love the idea of overnight success. They chase the shortcut. They want the hack, the cheat code, the magic formula. But you know what actually works? Repetition, relentless effort, boring, unsexy, repetitive action. The kind most people don't want to do. The kind that doesn't get you applause on day one. The kind that feels like it's going nowhere until one day it explodes. That's how it works. You do the reps, and nothing happens. You keep showing up, and still no big win. But what you don't see is the compound effect stacking behind the scenes. Every action is a brick. Every day you show up, you're laying another brick. And most people quit halfway through the wall. They get tired, frustrated, impatient. They don't realize how close they are. The truth is, most people aren't consistent long enough to find out how good they can actually be. They sprint and burn out. They start strong, then fade. They mistake activity for progress, but they never stick with anything long enough to gain real momentum. That's where you have the advantage. If you're willing to stay the course, not for a week, not for a month, but for as long as it takes, then you become a force, Because while others are starting over, jumping from one thing to the next, you're still building, still moving, still sharpening your edge. It doesn't matter if they're more talented, if they don't have your discipline, they won't outlast you. Think about athletes. The ones who dominate aren't always the most gifted. They're the ones who show up early, stay late, and train even when the cameras are off. In business, it's not the flashiest entrepreneur who wins. It's the one who can handle the grind, who makes the calls, answers the emails, and solves the boring problems day after day. In relationships, it's not grand gestures that make love last. It's showing up consistently with presence, with intention, with commitment. Consistency beats intensity. That's the part people miss. Anyone can go hard for a few days. Anyone can have a breakthrough moment. But breakthroughs don't matter if you don't build something after them. What matters is who's still there, still pushing, long after the hype is gone. That's what separates the few who win from the many who don't. And consistency doesn't mean perfection. You're going to fall. You're going to mess up. But you don't stay down. That's the difference. You get back up and you keep going. Because you understand that this is a long game, a lifelong game. And every time you rise again, you get stronger. Consistency builds trust, not just from others, but from yourself. You start to believe in your ability to overcome, to outlast, to keep showing up no matter what's thrown at you. And once you believe that, truly believe it, you become untouchable. There's also something deeply intimidating about someone who refuses to quit. People notice, maybe not at first, but over time, they see the pattern, they see the discipline, and they can't ignore it. You earn respect by being consistent. Not loud, not flashy, just consistent. You walk the walk, you keep your word. You do what you said you would do, long after the mood has left you. And the best part? Anyone can do this. Consistency doesn't require genius. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require perfect conditions. It just requires a decision to keep going, to keep building, to keep laying those bricks every single day, even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, even when nobody's watching. So if you've ever felt like you don't measure up, if you've ever looked around and thought, they have more than me, or I'm not good enough, remind yourself of this. You don't need to be more talented. You need to be more consistent. That's your power. That's your weapon. That's the edge that turns ordinary into unstoppable. The game doesn't go to the one who starts the fastest. It goes to the one who finishes. And that's you. If you keep showing up, keep building, keep repeating, keep moving forward, because the person who stays consistent always wins in the end. Every day you wake up, there's a conversation already happening in your mind, before your feet even hit the floor. Before you check your phone, before you open your eyes completely, your mind starts talking. It starts offering you options. It starts bargaining. It starts negotiating. 5 more minutes. You'll start tomorrow. You don't have to go today. You've earned a break. And you know what? That voice sounds reasonable. It sounds comforting. It sounds like it has your best interests at heart. But it doesn't. That voice is your weakness, talking. It's your fear, your doubt, your laziness. It's the part of you that wants to stay the same while pretending to care about progress. And the truth is, the people who become strong mentally, physically, emotionally, are the ones who stop entertaining that voice. They stop negotiating, because every time you engage in that back and forth, you give your weaker self a seat at the table. And if you keep listening, eventually it wins. You want to get up early? Don't wait for the motivation. Get up. You want to train, study, build, lead, grow? Don't check in with your feelings. Do it. Because the more you negotiate, the more excuses you will find. The human brain is brilliant at rationalizing weakness. It will give you 1,000 reasons why today's not the right day, why you should take it easy, why you can delay just a little longer. And if you're not careful, that becomes your habit. That becomes your identity. The person who always almost commits, who kind of shows up, who starts fast and fades early. You don't need more motivation. You need rules. You need standards. You need a code that you live by, regardless of how you feel. Think about it. Do you negotiate with a red light? Do you debate gravity? No, because those are non-negotiables. They just are. And that's how you need to start treating your goals, your values, your commitments. Not suggestions, not intentions, but mandates. You said you were going to work out today, then it's done. No discussion, no negotiation. You promised yourself you'd build that business, write that book, practice that skill, show up for that meeting with full presence. Then do it. Even if you're tired, even if you're not in the mood, even if no one is watching. Because the minute you start negotiating, you open the door to inconsistency. And inconsistency is the fastest way to erode your confidence. It trains your mind to believe that your word means nothing, that you can't be trusted, that you'll fold under pressure, under discomfort, under emotion. But when you stop negotiating, everything changes. You start to build momentum. You start to show yourself that you can rely on your own discipline, that you don't need to feel amazing to act, that you don't need to want to do it. You just need to do it anyway. And this isn't about perfection. You're human. You're going to have off days. But the point is, don't make quitting an option you entertain every time things get inconvenient. Don't make it a regular conversation. When the alarm goes off, don't start debating. When it's time to show up, don't scroll, don't second guess. Move. Successful people operate from principle, not emotion. They have standards that don't bend to the weather, to their feelings, or to the mood of the day. And that's what makes them powerful. They don't waste energy wondering, should I? Because the decision was made long ago. This kind of mental discipline is uncomfortable at first, especially if you've spent years letting your feelings make the calls. But once you reclaim control, once you shut down the internal debate and choose decisive action over emotional delay, you'll experience a new level of peace, a deep, unshakable calm that comes from knowing you've got yourself. You don't flinch. You don't stall. You move. That mindset doesn't just apply to workouts or habits. It spills into every area of your life. You stop negotiating in relationships. You stop tolerating less than you deserve. You stop wasting time on distractions, on drama, on things that don't align with who you're trying to become. And yes, it's going to be hard. But don't confuse hard with wrong. The resistance you feel is proof that you're on the edge of growth, that you're leaving behind the part of yourself that settles, that avoids, that hides. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, that old self gets weaker, and the new one, the focused, committed, resilient version of you, gets stronger. You don't owe your feelings a vote. You don't need permission from your mood. You made the decision. You set the standard. Now act on it. Start treating your commitments like contracts. Signed, sealed, delivered. Not open for renegotiation every time you get tired, scared, or bored. The next time that voice tries to cut a deal, tries to sell you comfort, tries to sell you on just this once, shut it down. You don't negotiate with weakness. You don't debate your mission. You execute. That's how you take back control. That's how you build self-respect. That's how you rise. Consistency sounds simple. Just keep showing up, right? Just repeat the effort day in and day out. But anyone who has actually committed to something meaningful over time knows it's not simple. It's not easy because consistency doesn't just require time or energy. It requires courage. It takes courage to show up on the days you don't feel like it, to train when your body aches, to keep writing when the words aren't flowing, to keep showing up for people who haven't noticed the sacrifices you're making. It takes courage to keep moving forward when there's no applause, no validation, no immediate payoff. That's what most people don't talk about. Consistency is not just a habit. It's a form of bravery. It means doing the work even when the voice in your head is screaming that it's pointless, that you're not good enough, that it's not working. It means pushing through boredom, fatigue, fear, and doubt, not once, but over and over again. Every single time you choose consistency, you're stepping into discomfort. You're risking failure. You're defying that part of your mind that wants certainty, safety, and immediate gratification. You're saying, I choose the long road. I choose delayed reward. I choose process over ego. That's not easy. That's bold. Because being consistent means exposing yourself. It means putting effort into something that might not pay off for months, maybe years. It means opening yourself to criticism, judgment, misunderstanding. Most people can handle intensity for a short burst. They can sprint for a few weeks. They can ride a wave of motivation for a little while. But when that energy wears off and reality sets in, that's where courage is required. Courage is required when you keep posting, keep creating, keep practicing, and no one is watching. No one is clapping. No one is validating you. That's when people disappear. That's when they switch paths, shift focus, or decide to pivot because they're not seeing results fast enough. But what they're really doing is running. Running from the fear that maybe they're not good enough. Running from the hard truth that progress demands patience. Consistency is a daily confrontation with your doubts. It's waking up to the same routine, the same steps, the same grind, and having the guts to do it anyway. Not because it's fun, not because it's flashy, but because deep down you know the alternative is regret. Let's be honest, quitting is easier. Starting over feels exciting. Taking on something new gives you that temporary rush. But quitting over and over again is not freedom. It's avoidance. And the more you avoid, the smaller your world becomes. Courage shrinks. Confidence erodes. Eventually, you start to tell yourself the story that you're just not that consistent, or you lack discipline, or you're not that kind of person. But that's a lie. You're just afraid. We all are. The difference is, some people feel the fear and keep showing up anyway. Not because they're fearless, but because they've chosen to be courageous. Consistency also requires courage in how it forces you to face yourself. When you commit to doing something daily, something meaningful, you're forced to come face to face with your weaknesses. You start to see all the excuses you've been making, all the ways you've let yourself off the hook. It's humbling, it's uncomfortable, and it takes guts to not only notice it, but to keep going anyway. There's also the courage to not chase quick wins. In a world that celebrates fast success and viral moments, choosing the path of steady, patient progress is rebellious. It's brave to say, I'm not here for hype. I'm here for legacy. It's brave to say, I don't care how long this takes. I'm building something real. And consistency requires another kind of courage too. The courage to believe in something you can't see yet. To plant seeds without knowing exactly when or how they'll grow. That takes faith. That takes vision. It takes strength to work in silence, knowing that the world might not reward you right away. But here's the truth. While everyone else is waiting for the perfect moment, for the motivation to strike, for the right circumstances, you're already ahead. Because consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds strength. And over time, that quiet courage becomes something else, something powerful. It becomes certainty, because the person who's shown up for 100 days in a row is not the same as the person who only acts when it's easy. The person who's kept their promises to themselves day after day walks differently, speaks differently. They don't need to shout. Their actions speak for them. You want to be that person. Then stop thinking consistency is just about discipline. Understand, it's about heart. It's about grit. It's about having the courage to say, I don't care how I feel today. I'm doing it anyway. Not because it's glamorous, but because you refuse to settle. And every time you do, you take one more step away from fear, one more step toward becoming someone unstoppable. So the next time you feel like quitting, the next time you think this doesn't matter, remember this. Consistency is courage, and courage is the foundation of every great life that's ever been built. You don't need to be extraordinary to win. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to feel motivated every single day. What you need is the courage to start and the grit to keep showing up. Especially when it's hard, especially when no one's clapping, especially when you feel like giving up. Because that's when it counts. That's when you separate yourself from everyone else. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about discipline over emotion. It's about making a decision and refusing to back down from it. Not once, but every single day. When you live like that, you don't just build habits. You build character. You build self-respect. You build a reputation not for being the loudest or the most talented, but for being the one who shows up, rain or shine, no matter what. That kind of person, unstoppable. So stop waiting. Stop negotiating. Stop making excuses. Your life doesn't change when you feel ready. It changes the moment you decide that you're done talking and ready to act. If you want transformation, then earn it. Brick by brick, day by day. Be consistent. Be relentless. Be courageous. Because at the end of the day, it's not the loudest person who wins. It's the one who refuses to quit. Let that be you.